Today we'll be talking about microscopes. If you're writing this in your own notebook, you can title it Microscopes. So we're going to talk about the parts of the microscope first. So the first question I have here is, what do you remember? Can you circle the eyepiece? And obviously if you're doing this at home, you're not on the Pear Deck, so you can't circle it, but think about where exactly is that eyepiece? Well, the eyepiece is the top part here that you look through. So if you don't have a diagram, you can grab one from me tomorrow, but on your diagram, go ahead and label the eyepiece. So the eyepiece magnification is 10x, which means it magnifies the image 10 times, okay? And that's not actually very much, okay? That's not a very high magnification. So we're gonna learn how we can get an even higher magnification using other lenses. The objectives. When I said the word lens, another word for objective is lens. So our objectives are right here. And you'll notice that our microscopes have 3 on them. Some other microscopes might have more or less, but these are our objectives. So these are lenses that are going to magnify the image further. So this eyepiece has a lens inside of it. It's going to magnify it 10 times. And these are going to magnify it an additional amount as well. So if you take a look, here are our objectives. And I have unscrewed them from the microscope. And you'll notice they get longer. So this DIN stands for Deutsch Industrial Number, something along those lines. But basically, it's the standard lens. It's just saying this is the numbers that they go by. And the number after that, 4, means how many times it's magnifying. So this lens is magnifying it 4 times. So zooming in 4 times. This one is magnifying it 10 times, and this one is magnifying it 40 times. So we always want to start with the lowest power, the lowest magnification. In my example here, I'm going to tell you why. If you're trying to find a city, okay, let's imagine we're trying to find Madison, Wisconsin. If I take this map and I zoom in really up close and I'm in Texas, it's going to be really hard for me to find Wisconsin because I'm super zoomed in. But if I zoom out first, then I can center the map right around where I think Madison is. I can zoom in there and zoom in. So we always want to start zoomed out, which means we're starting with our lowest power objective. So this is that DIN. DIN is an abbreviation, Deutsch Industrial Normen. It's just, you don't need to know this. It's just in case you're wondering. And it's just saying it's a standard size microscope lens. So again, 4 times, 10 times, and 40 times magnification. Now you definitely need to know, how do we find the overall magnification then? Well, if our eyepiece is magnifying it 10 times and our lowest power lens is magnifying it 4 times, all we have to do is multiply those together. So 10 times 4 would be 40. So the overall magnification, if I'm using the 4x, the low power, would be 40. If I'm using the medium power, my eyepiece still stays the same. So 10 times 10, that's 100. And then 40x, 10 times 40, 400. So you need to be able to know how to calculate the overall magnification. All right, so holding the microscope when you carry it, we do not want to carry it by any of the flimsy parts that could, come off or break really easily. So the most stable parts are the arm, which is right here, and the base. So you need to know how to properly carry the microscope by the arm and the base. So let's go ahead and label those on our diagram here. So we have the arm and we have the base. So we have 2 different knobs here. Coarse focus and fine focus. If I have coarse sand, it means it's really big pieces of sand. If I have fine sand, it's really, really tiny. So coarse is focusing it kind of on a big level, and fine is focusing it on a little level. So the coarse focus, this big knob, it's going to move the stage, this is the stage, a lot. And so we're going to use the coarse focus when we're focusing on low power. When we get up to medium and high, we're just going to use the fine focus because we don't want the stage to move a lot because we're already zoomed in quite a bit. So here's your little reminder on low power. Okay, low power you can use anything, and the reason is we're not zoomed in very far. Okay, and so we can use the big knob, we can use the small knob. When we move to medium and high power, this lens is going to be really close to the slide. And so we don't want to move this stage a lot. And so we're going to use this smaller knob, which is called the fine focus. And we're not going to use the coarse focus. All right, then we have something called the diaphragm. It controls how much light comes through. So the diaphragm is underneath here. And so we're going to label that. The diaphragm's here. You can see there's this little piece here. That's like a slider. It slides to let in more or less light. Here's an example of some pictures with the diaphragm changed. And so notice like the amount of light that's let in can change how something looks. Right, and then the last thing, we have the stage, and there's little clips on the stage that hold the slide in place. So those are the parts of the microscope. Recap, to carry it, we need to use the arm and the base. We're always going to start on the lowest power. Okay, and when we use the low power, we're going to use the big knob. When we switch to medium and high, we're going to only use the fine focus, the small knob. Diaphragm allows light in. Eyepiece has a lens that magnifies it 10 times.